Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Van Alstyne, and welcome to my discussion today. We're having a live chat with Dr. Caitlin Faas about procrastination and social media. I'm so excited for this one because I know that I've procrastinated on social media. I've also procrastinated things about myself for like setting up my online presence. So we're going to get into it all. So, Caitlin, thanks so much for coming today. Would you mind starting us off by just introducing yourself?
Yes, thanks so much for having me, Jennifer. You're doing such great work with all the academics. There's not a week that goes by that I'm like, you need to go talk to Jennifer.
I
So,
love it.
my name is Caitlin, and I am a certified life coach for academics. And I left my tenure track position. I was a tenured professor and department chair. And then I left that to work for myself full time as a coach, helping the other academics. So, helping professors in particular and people in higher education in general deal with their procrastination, their time management. I want them to reclaim 5 hours of their week every week for themselves, not for their universities. So, that's
I
the work I do.
love that. So claiming time for themselves is the key there. Not so you can work more, not so you can do more for your universities, but so you can claim time for yourself. And stopping procrastination is going to help with that. So that's why we're going to talk today about procrastination and when it might be overwork, because those things can definitely get mixed up. But before we get into that definition, I do want to say if you've joined us live, if you're here in the chat, be sure to introduce yourself. Let us know if you have any questions. All right, so procrastination versus overwork. What's the difference?
Yeah. So procrastination, we all know it when we're avoiding something we need to do. Like you have a task and you know you need to do it. It might be grading papers. It might be writing that book. It might be following up with someone, but you're avoiding it. So procrastination is like, I'm avoiding a task. And there's several reasons that we'll talk about. But overwork is a sneaky one that doesn't get talked about a lot because it's actually promoted in academia, I would say. Like we talk about procrastination of, oh yeah, we don't want to do that. We tell our students not to do it. But overworking is like, I'm actually avoiding feelings and emotions about other things going on in my life, but now I'm going to go work so I don't have to go deal with those things.
Hmm.
And the extreme example that everybody can connect with for overworking is a professor who loses a family member or someone close to them, and they're experiencing extreme grief, but they stuff it all down and they go teach anyways and they go do their work. And no one at the university is saying, like, you have to take time off. I mean, some deans and administrators will say that to you, but if you say back to them, I'd like to work, no one stops you. But it's actually
Hmm.
overworking, right? And more subtle versions of that are like, I'm going to work in the evenings instead of spending time with my kids because they're driving me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really want to sit down and think about my hopes and dreams. How about I just get back to those student emails? So it's a
Hmm.
club. I call it the overworking club because if you do this, you actually know you do it, but you're like, uh-oh, are you going to take away my gold stars for this? Everybody rewards me for this.
They do. It is like you're such a hard worker. You've gotten so much done. You've accomplished so much. But when you're stretching yourself thin and you're not taking time for yourself, you're not taking time to spend with your family or to do the things that you want to do, you're just pushing yourself into that, then gosh, that can really burn you out quickly, huh?
Hmm. For sure.
Okay, so definitely overwork is something that can look like, a professor who's grieving but still pushing through going to class. It can look like overwork in the evenings and overwork essentially at any time of day when you probably could be doing something else. So, what is procrastination then?
Yeah, anytime that there's something that you need to do, like it really is something on your list to do, but you're not doing it because you have dread about it, or you're thinking that it's going to be difficult, or you're like, I don't want to do that. All kinds of versions of that, but it is something that has a deadline or has to be done. You said you committed to it. You said you were going to do it, but now you don't want to on many different levels.
Got it. So Procrastination is something that I think a lot of people will use social media for. Like, if they don't want to work on a project, I see people on Twitter being like, I should be working on this, but here I am on Twitter. So social media is something that they use to procrastinate. What does that look like?
Yeah, it looks like avoiding a feeling of something like dread, difficulty, uncomfortableness.
Hmm.
So you have this task. In the bigger scheme of things, you do want to write that paper. You're like, yes, I would like to contribute to the literature. I want to make this happen. But sitting down at your desk, you're having thoughts like, but I don't want to do it right now. And you believe your brain, you listen to that story, and you're like, yeah, that's true. I don't want to do it. You feel some kind of like urge or desire not to. And so then you go find yourself on social media. For a
Hmm.
lot of people, they don't have the awareness that these are the steps that they're going through. They just know that they're
Right.
scrolling. They're like, how do
Scrolling. So endless scroll and not necessarily understanding where it's coming from or like why they're doing that thing.
yeah,
If you are listening to us live and you have found yourself endless scrolling on Twitter or any other social media platform, definitely let us know in the comments. So Caitlin, do you find yourself procrastinating with social media ever?
yeah, I certainly have in the past. So ways I get around this personally for myself, having the awareness of, oh, here I am doing that endless scroll, doom scroll. Like, wait a minute, why? So
Hmm.
at this point on my phone, I don't have notifications. I don't have, I had to delete Twitter again. I go through phases. I haven't been on Instagram in years because that's quite the endless scroll. I
Hmm.
use the newsfeed eradicator on Facebook. It's a plugin you could add in that doesn't show me an option to scroll on Facebook. I can,
Oh,
yeah, I can go in on my groups. I can like see the homepage of Facebook, but I can't get caught in the scroll.
that's interesting. So you've actually found a plugin that will help you not scroll.
Yeah, it's free.
Did you use that plugin because you couldn't stop yourself from scrolling?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
being a psychology professor and knowing how the brain works, part of being the time ninja that I am is embracing what my brain wants to do. I
Hmm.
know it's like a slow moving elephant. As we talk about, some researchers have coined this term of like, you have an elephant that's very large and only does things it wants to do, but you're the rider on the elephant and you got to think of clever ways to make the elephant move. And you got to be
That's a
careful
fun
because the elephant's
analogy.
much bigger than you and very
Right.
heavy. Like, you don't actually get to stop it or control it in a sense. You need to be clever. So, the newsfeed eradicator or deleting things off of my phone, no notifications, keeping it on silent, all of that is just intended to help meet me where I am. I know what my brain wants to do, that it wants to get hooked.
Yeah.
I'm going to get rid of that.
I mean, the engineers at the social media platforms are sitting around in rooms literally trying to make you more addicted to their program. That's their job. Their job is to make you like and want to use more social media. I'm a social media expert, but I definitely am aware that these things are true. And there are people who are psychologists and consultants and marketing people just trying to make you scroll more. The guy who invented the endless scroll really regrets it now. And so that's just, it's just something that I feel is like, it's just going to get worse. Like they're just going to find more ways to keep us scrolling. So we do have to be clever and try to understand our own boundaries and our own needs when it comes to stopping that.
Yeah.
So
And
you use an app.
yeah.
What else do you do? You said you mute your notifications, so there's no notifications, and you keep your phone on silent, right? Those are great. I love those tips.
Yeah, they're really simple, but they're in the sense of when you actually do it, you see how much you clean up in your brain throughout a day. Like when I have a client or when I'm working with someone and they're getting distracted, even on Zoom calls, right? You can tell if somebody's got their phone near them
Yeah.
and they're getting distracted with it. I know the cost of that, that diverts my attention and that I'm losing time by even glancing at it or hearing the buzz. The people who have the
Yeah.
buzz on and they're like, oh, it's not distracting. Your brain paid attention and now it has to come back.
Oh,
And
my brain's listening for buzzes. Like
yeah,
if I'm sitting working on a project and my phone, even in the other room, goes like it buzzes, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what that is.
Mhm.
I wonder what that is. That an email? Is that a message? And I feel a strong need to get up and go and check. I've gotten a lot better at it, and I do keep my phone on silent most of the time now. But the urge was so overwhelming for me. Like I've definitely tried a number of things. I have turned off all things, so like I can't use the internet after a certain time. That didn't work out too well for me.
Did you override it?
I didn't overwrite it, but I got so angry at my phone, I'd actually have to turn it off. Like I couldn't even use my phone after a certain time if that was the case. So instead of that, I ended up kind of making these rules for myself, which is about how I use my time on social media. So when I'm on Twitter, if I've spent 10 minutes on the platform and I haven't had a meaningful interaction, like I haven't responded to a comment that I actually liked, and I haven't joined a conversation, then that's my time limit. I have to get off. And I'm actually very good at that. So that's great. And I found a solution for Twitter. But I love what you said about Facebook. That's something that I might not have thought of, because Facebook isn't a platform that I think that I love, but my phone digital well-being like settings app tells me otherwise. Like I spend a lot of time on Facebook talking to friends and family, more time than I expected, and so much more time that like I need to find a solution. So I'm really excited that you brought up that. What was the plugin called again?
Newsfeed eradicator.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that out myself, because I gotta find a solution that works.
Yeah.
Timer's not working. Like I set a timer and I just overrided it.
Yes. And there's this difference between meeting your brain where it is with an urge. So saying like, we're going to remove a lot of these urges automatically through apps and tasks. But also there's the work that I do with my clients of, we got to manage your thoughts and watching the awareness of, oh, here is my brain saying, I want to check. I wonder what's going on. Maybe I need to check the latest coronavirus numbers. Maybe I need to know what's going on with Harry and Meghan right now. Right? Like hearing that in your brain is like, wait a minute. You're like a little kid in there. I'm going to manage you and set up protocols, like you said,
Yeah.
of these are the rules. You can do what you want within these rules, brain, this container, but I've set you up ahead of time for success.
So that's the rules container that you're talking about. Those are the kind of questions that you're asking yourself, like the results of that. So if you're asking yourself like why you do certain things, why you're scrolling, why you're spending time on Twitter, and you realize that it's about that feeling that you said is what usually prompts it, then the rules help us control that part. Like I'm having this feeling, so I don't do this, or I'm having this feeling, so this is, these are my rules or these are my limits. That's really interesting, because when I ask people to approach their social media goals, or who they even want to talk to and communicate with there, it's always about the questions and like, who do you want to talk with? Like who do you want to connect with? Because if you can't answer that question, like there's not necessarily going to be a type of content that can be recommended, or a type of practice, or like a profile, or even a tone of voice. Like if you don't know who you want to talk to, that's kind of like where it all starts. And for procrastination, it sounds like that's a feeling as well. And recognizing that feeling makes a huge difference in making changes in your life.
Absolutely.
So what about the other side? What about people who procrastinate updating their social media? Because when people approach me, they're like, I have known for 7 or 10 or 12 years that I need an online presence of some kind. I need to be on social media. So I just never did it. Or I started a Twitter account and then never posted on it. I get things like that a lot. So what about people who procrastinate something that they think is beneficial for themselves for a long time?
Yeah. Often it's a story about perfection for academics. Like, I need to put time into this, or I need to make sure I'm representing myself well. I need to do A plus work instead of like C level quality, which would actually be passing the class and doing well. We're like, no, I'd like an A in this. So, you know what I'm going to do instead? Not do it at all, so that I don't have to go have a C. I'm going to go for the A, but I'm not. I'm just going to procrastinate on it and avoid it. So there's a lot of perfectionistic tendencies there of, that's why I'm not going to go touch it, or telling yourself, I don't know what to do next. Like, I don't know is a phrase I don't let myself say. I never
Ooh.
say, I don't know. It's never say, I don't know. It's not true. It's never true. I'm the only person that does know. And if I don't actually know something like the research, I know where to go find it or who to talk to about the next
Mm-hmm.
step.
So that's something that it sounds like you don't say about yourself, but you don't say at all. Like you don't say it with other people as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, if you had me in a classroom or something, I may say off the cuff, like, I don't know, let's look into it.
I'll
But
find out.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's find out for sure. It's not like I never tell people I don't know. It's more the internal dialogue. So many of my clients will say, I don't know what to do next. And they're in front of me. Right. And it's like, you don't say that. If you say that to yourself, you're stuck and you're like waiting for me to give you the answer, which academia sets
Ooh.
us up well for, right? Like,
Yeah.
let me dole out the answers for you.
Hmm.
Instead of the answer is inside of you, you can trust yourself to know what the next best step is for you.
Hmm. So it sounds like it's really about knowing yourself and really interrogating where things are coming from. So how do people start to do that?
Yeah, if we think about social media, so, and let's say you want presence on
Hmm.
LinkedIn, you're like, okay, I want to be on LinkedIn so I can connect with people and I want to find other academics who are like me. Then here, like the where that breaks down is when you then say, but I don't know where to find them.
Mm,
You just like cut yourself off from the next step.
got it.
And so instead be like, well, wait a minute. What if I did know? What if I do know? Like, I bet there's a way. Or I wonder. You just opened yourself up to curiosity and now you're going to go figure it out.
Curiosity. Curiosity is such a big part of that kind of interrogation, not just of our own feelings, but of what the solution is. I'm such a solution oriented person that I'm always going there. And so when people don't, I'm always like, but there's a way to fix that. Like there's a way to move forward at least, where there's a next step. And so I know my fiance especially is someone who is more like he needs someone to help him with the next step, like to at least ask him a question, to think of what the next step is going to be, and say his job search, or what, even when he was researching, like he definitely needed a lot of time to think through all of those stages. And for me, because I'm so solutions oriented, I'm more likely to miss the details at the time being. But I think it makes a big difference for how we approach life differently. We definitely make different decisions when it comes to like how we're deciding something, and a lot of that is because I'm so solutions oriented.
For sure. You're getting results and creating them because you are not letting yourself say, I don't know, or getting stuck in what we call indulgent emotions of
Yeah.
indecision, worry, uh, you know, being just this uncertainty kind of idea,
Yeah.
thinking you don't know. None of
My
that's helpful.
response to uncertainty is to find a solution. So I think it's because I don't necessarily need as much curiosity as I do as like, well, I just need to know everything. So that's part of it for me. But when people come to me about social media, there's definitely some fear, which I know I've written about for you. There's fear about not being perfect, again, like you said. There's fear about not knowing what to do, or fear of not being liked, and just a lot of anxiety when it comes to actually putting yourself out there. A lot of academics will say, "Well, I'm so great at this. I'm excellent at this specialty or this research field, and I just don't know how to connect with people on social media. Or I don't think anyone will like me, or I don't have anything to say." And it's just not true, because
Right.
everyone has something to say about their own work or about their interests. So yeah, it is kind of about a feeling. And procrastination is something that it sounds like can affect how we use social media when we're on it, but also how we stay away from it as well sometimes.
Oh yeah. I mean, the social media piece, it taps into our fear, all of our fears of people won't like me.
Hmm.
Like that is one of our human things that we really watch for. It's biologically in us of we better make sure other people like us in some sense because we're a
Yeah.
social animal, we're a social creature. So it when even if it shows up on social media, which prefrontal cortex, right, is very like it doesn't matter at the end of the day, but it matters to your primitive brain that's concerned about people and that they like you. So can you meet your primitive brain where it is and say something like, hey, it's going to be okay, even if people don't respond on social media? Or the biggest fear I see in my clients is someone will comment like that they hate you, or that they don't, just some kind of like hate will show up on social media. And it's like, yeah, so walk through that scenario of somebody hates you. Yes. Are they important enough to you to respond, or are you concerned about their feedback? Probably not.
Yeah.
Who you're concerned about is a small list of people. And if, okay, then worst case scenario, one of them says, I'm really disappointed in you. It's like, then what? What would happen? Do you have your own back to be able to say, yeah, I know they're disappointed in me, but I knew I made the right choice, or I knew I made the right decision type of atmosphere? Like, that is still my belief of, I view sleep as one of the most important things. And even if my favorite mentor said, yeah, no sleep, that's not important, I wouldn't be like, maybe they're right. I would still know this is still really important to me, and they disagree with me, and it's okay.
Okay.
But my other motivation with social media is like, go look at one of your favorite people, especially a celebrity that has both love and hate on Twitter or wherever. And you're going to see that everybody, no matter who you're talking about, has both. And you want that. You don't want any in between. You want people to love you or hate you. I don't need people in the middle who are like, yeah, she's okay. That's nice. I mean, I'm never going to hire her, but she's okay. Like, you know what I need is for you to love me and to sign up, or be like, absolutely not. Stop talking. Get away from me. Please go somewhere else and find other people now before we ever get into a conversation, or before you go spend 12 hours with me in a coaching relationship. Like, I don't want, if you're going to end up hating me, let's cut it off from the beginning. Social media is a great place to start.
Yeah, I think social media is it's a place where people go to both avoid hate by like talking to the people that they want to talk with, right? And also a place where they're kind of fascinated by it, right? Because things that are negative do tend to get retweeted and liked more, and they get a lot of comments, which means that the algorithm is like, oh, people are interested in this, let me show it to more people. In a sense, that is a fear. But I think that what's really important about what you said is like, what's your reaction going to be to that? Like, how much are you going to let it affect you, and why? Asking yourself, like, who do you really care, like, about who is disappointed in you? Well, that makes a big difference in how we react to a troll on Twitter. I'm really excited because I think the next article that I'm going to write for the Social Academic blog is about tweets gone wrong. Like that happens all the time, and it happens more often than I think academics would like to admit. And it's not usually for something that is hate-filled. It's not like, I hate this thing or I hate these people. It's something that they said that's a strong opinion that just someone doesn't like. It doesn't need to be a lot of people. It's just someone. And so how you react to that can definitely make a big difference in how much traction it gets in the real world. So thanks for bringing that up and for talking about, the reaction to that. Okay, so my next question is, what are a couple of ways that we can just procrastinate less? I know that we've talked about a few of them, but let's just go through them again.
Yeah, well, if we sit down and think about like, what feeling are you trying to avoid by procrastinating? So you're sitting at your desk and you're feeling what kind of uncomfortable feeling? What is it? Can you identify it? Of like, yeah, it just feels icky to sit here and work on this paper. Okay. Then we know all that's driving that emotion is a thought that you're having. That's not actually true. Doesn't have to be true. You're like, I don't want to work on this. And I'm like, that's not a true statement. True statement is there's a paper to work on. You're telling yourself you don't want to in this moment. We can meet our brain where it is and do a couple things, like say, I know you don't want to, but we're going to do it anyways. Or, hey, remember, we do want to in the bigger scheme of things. I know it feels really uncomfortable right now, brain, but it's going to be worth it. So that's like, we got to change that story. You can prevent that uncomfortable feeling. And that helps with the idea when people say to themselves, I got to find motivation. Like, you don't have to find it. It's not out there for like something to grab. It's something to create yourself with your thoughts. It's not like you're going to stumble
Ooh.
on it out there.
I think that's really important because that's the phrase, right? I need to find some motivation, or I need something or someone to motivate me. That's kind of what you see on social media anyways, like motivational quotes, motivational phrases, and like, do you have ideas to keep you motivated? But that's different from what you're talking about, which is that it comes from within.
Mm-hmm. Because you think about, sometimes you see posts on like this on social media. People will say, I need tips to find my motivation. And there'll be a Twitter thread of like 50 tips, like the newsfeed eradicator or something. And the person at the end of all that still like, yeah, but just, I don't know what would work for me. You're like, so what actually we need to change here is the thought, I don't know what would work for me. Or
Yeah.
some version of this isn't supposed to be uncomfortable. So many of us are doing projects that, of course, it's uncomfortable that we're writing a book or an article. Like, that's what we signed up for. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. If our PhD had been easy, like everyone would have one.
So it really becomes about that motivation being internal, asking yourself the right questions to see where your feelings are coming from that's keeping you from moving forward or from stopping that procrastination.
Yeah.
I find that really interesting. So what questions should they ask themselves? Let's say I've realized that I was, I'm procrastinating. I mean, I'm procrastinating on Facebook, and I've kind of asked myself why, but like, what's the first question that you ask yourself? Because I mean, not everyone's going to sit down and just start thinking about their feelings.
Yeah. Well, you can ask yourself, why am I here?
Why am I here? That's great.
First question. Why am I here?
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. What am I trying to like get out of this? Am I supposed to be doing this right now? Probably not. If you know that you're just scrolling. I mean, in the time management stuff I do, there's time for Facebook scrolling or time to interact with friends. That's on my schedule on purpose because I do value it. But that doesn't mean I get to do it whenever I want or when I'm supposed to be getting another task done. So why am I here? Is it on purpose? Probably not. So if that's true, why am I avoiding the thing that I'm supposed to be doing in this hour? Or did I not, the thing I run into with clients is, I didn't actually define what I'm supposed to be doing in this hour, which means brain got to wander.
Okay. So I think that probably comes up a lot, huh? Because I feel like we're so busy, and so oftentimes we're working on a lot of projects at once that it can be easy to not necessarily recognize what we're feeling guilty about in the time that we're supposed to be doing. Like, if you don't have something to do specifically, if you don't have a goal for it that hour, then it could just go to anything. Like, you might not know what happened to it and then feel guilty about that time afterwards. So that's really interesting.
You're always going to feel guilty about it because if you let the brain wander in the moment, you're letting a toddler, primitive brain, run the show. So a toddler, I mean, like, why would you feel guilty about a toddler who made a mess with all the kitchen pans? You wouldn't, because you'd be like, of course they did that because they're 3. But we do it to ourselves all the time of like, why didn't I get my work done in the past hour? You let it wander. You said, here's the kitchen. I'm going to go away for a while. Like, parent part of you said, you do what you want for a while. I'll be back. Make sure you do your work, but I'm not going to supervise you.
I love your analogies. Your stories are great. That and the elephant, turning the elephant by asking that question can just, it's almost shocking to me that it can make that just one question and like starting down that road of like, why am I doing this thing? Like, why am I procrastinating can really lead to some change. And for you found that muting your phone, keeping it on silent, having no notifications on your phone. You said that right now you've deleted Twitter and you use a plugin that keeps you from having to scroll on Facebook. So all of those things are tools and rules that you use yourself to keep yourself from procrastinating with social media. Are there any other ideas that you have for people that you'd like to share?
Keep experimenting. Like, what works best for you? Can you handle Facebook on your phone? Or email is probably the biggest thing I work with people. We've been talking about social media, but it's that other idea of, but somebody's going to need me or someone will have liked my post. And so I want to see it at 7 p.m. at night when you're supposed to be spending time with your family. No, I don't think you actually want to see it right then. What you're training yourself to do is to be present with your family in that moment, or whatever you're supposed to be doing, want to do at 7 p.m. It's like it's probably not the endless scroll.
So email is kind of similar in the sense that it's something that we feel like we might want to have notifications for. We might want to have it accessible all the time, but what works for one person may not work for you. And so you need to really ask yourself, like, what you're spending time on, how you feel about that time, and if you need to make some changes to actually make it work for you.
Yeah, I mean, email, I have worked with full professors who are trying to manage email because they have a thought chain that sounds something like students need me, my postdocs need me, I need to respond immediately. What if the dean asks me to do something at this hour? I mean, for me, when that would happen to me, it's like, and I wasn't available. Like, as in, no, I can't meet at 8 p.m. And it was nice that I didn't even see that notification until the next day. So I didn't even have to start a thought storm of, oh no, what are they going to think about me? I really don't want to go. I'm not put together to even be on that call. What are they going to talk about, right? Like, how about we prevent all that drama? See an email the next day that says, could you meet at this time? And I was like, oh yeah, well, clearly that didn't happen. And best news, still had my job, still had respect, still had, nothing dire happened. Once you build that flywheel of, oh yeah, people don't need me desperately, especially if I don't respond all the time. Look at this. I do have more freedom than I think. I do have flexibility. It'll be okay if I don't get back to that person within a minute or within an hour.
I love it. So it sounds like that changing that mindset for you and having it be reinforced by not having people get angry at you and like not having negative consequences for not checking your email at like 7 o'clock at night. Just made it so it was like a flywheel. It kept turning. So that's awesome. And I think that social media can be similar in the sense that like if you recognize that there's something that is wrong and you make a change, that change can usually mean that you enjoy your time on social media more. That doesn't mean you'll necessarily spend more time or less time on social media, but if you're using it more effectively in the time that you're on it, if you're not getting stuck in that endless scroll, that can make a huge difference to how you feel about it. So I would love for you to share your services and tell us about how you can help academics because they're so busy, they are overwhelmed and overworked a lot of the time. So as a life coach, you're someone that can help them take back their time. And like you said at the beginning of the call, your goal is to get back at least 5 hours a week for themselves.
Yeah. So add up for yourself what that means to you. Like, what's your hourly rate? What kind of money would you be saving every month if you were saving 5 hours a week of your time and you could use it however you want? Like, dream big. So for my services, I work with my clients one-on-one. Sometimes I run groups of academics, but the best way to find out about all of that is I have a free 10 ways to reclaim your time PDF. So 10 tips you can just download for free right now on the website. We'll put the link up. Go over those 10 ways and start implementing one of them today for free. Like, you don't even need to hire me to get started on saving yourself some time today. It is my mission to help academics save themselves time and to give themselves back that time because they have such great minds, such important work to share with the world. It's like, I'm here to help you shine. You need this. Here are the 10 tips. And then I'll keep emailing you with more resources and options to work with me.
Great. Well, I definitely recommend you reach out to Caitlin and download those 10 ways to take back your time. I'm going to link to that below this video. Thank you so much for joining us for this live chat here on YouTube with Dr. Caitlin Faas. Caitlin, is there anything else that you wanted to chat about before we wrap up?
Just wanted to say thank you, Jennifer. Amazing as always.
All right. Thank you all for joining us and come back next time for a YouTube Live here on The Social Academic. All right, the live stream on YouTube